climate justice is about the distribution of the benefits and burdens from climate change. There will be great benefits if we limit climate change. There will be some costs in doing it, and there will be damage that some people will suffer. Some people will have to pay for damage. All these things, we can either just let them lie where they fall, which would not be a good idea, because some of the harm and damage will fall on people who have no responsibility whatsoever for the climate change. When the sea level rises, the people who suffer are the people who live near the sea, but the people near the sea are not necessarily the people who caused it. So it's important that we think about this distribution and try to cushion the effects on the poorest, who have the hardest time dealing with it. It's already true now that cyclones cause more damage in poor countries because the poor countries don't have the facilities to deal with them. That's the kind of thing that climate justice would worry about. Oh, very much. I think you can't get away from the moral side. And unfortunately, the way things are going, I think it's unfortunate anyway, basically each country is being allowed to decide for itself what it ought to do. I think this is a little bit like letting every driver decide what's the safe speed limit and you know, decide for himself which side of the road he wants to drive on. But for better or for worse, every country can decide for itself what it pledges to do. So what we need now is strong ambition, and if we get into a race to the bottom where one country says, well, we're not going to do much because such and such other country's not doing much, and the other one says, well, we're not doing much because they're not doing much, that'll be a disaster. If we could get going on a race to the top where some countries pledge to do something substantial, and the EU, the United States, and China have all made reasonably substantial pledges. What we need now is to try to get a dynamic going where it's a race to the top, and other people respond by saying, well, we'll do even more, and then hope that the earlier people will say, well, okay, then we'll do even more than that. The EU did show real leadership some years ago. I think there was a time when you could say the leader on climate change was the EU. But I think they've fallen back a bit, and I was saying earlier what we need is a race to the top. Now would be the time, since the US and China have made some pledges, now would be the time for the EU to come in and say, well, okay, we'll do even more. And I think, for example, everyone understands that the European trading system's not working very well because there are too many permits, and so they're so cheap they don't have any effect. There was one vote about whether to reduce the number of permits, and the decision was made not to do it. I think that's a mistake. They do need to reduce the permits, get the price up, and make the trading system more stringent. It's crucial now that I think that people not worry so much about am I doing more than other people are doing, and think more about are we doing enough, because after all, in the end, this is not about how you compare to the other people. This is about reducing carbon emissions overall, and everybody needs to do quite a bit more than they're doing. There's nothing shameful about the level the EU is doing, but I think the EU can do more, and maybe that will inspire others to do more than they're doing.